Hey everyone, welcome back to Soy Trading. I hope you all had a great long weekend before everyone went back to school. This video is going to cover weeks 4 and 5 of my trading journey to 10K. For anyone that's new to the channel, I'm currently teaching myself to day trade and trying to make 10K by the end of the year. My goal is just to learn as much as I can about the markets and show you guys that everyone can make money from trading with just a little practice. If you're interested in trading and following my journey, hit like and subscribe to get new content every week. Closing out August, the big event was Nvidia's earnings. I'm sure by now you've all heard about Nvidia, the company that's currently leading the way in AI development. To keep things simple, what Nvidia does is they build processors that are able to handle the heavy processing demands of AI. AI requires a lot of computing power, and although there are other companies that make parts, Nvidia's processors are the best. And because of that, all the big companies want their parts in order to use AI to improve their businesses. So this guy right here, Jensen Huang, is the CEO of Nvidia. He's been with the company from the beginning and has guided them from being a small company producing graphics cards for gamers to being one of the largest companies in the world, right behind Microsoft and Apple, with a valuation of almost $3 trillion. Under his leadership, Nvidia's stock has gone up over 170% in the past year, and over 2,200% in the last 5. All of the big companies like Google, Meta, and Microsoft have been spending billions on Nvidia's tech, but no profit has yet been realized. During the earnings report, investors wanted to see if Nvidia would continue the massive growth that we've seen in the past year. Because Nvidia is such a big company, and because so many of the other big companies were spending money to buy their tech, investors were a little bit skeptical that it would be able to continue its meteoric rise. Here on the 29th was when they had their earnings. In short, the company did well over the last quarter, but it just wasn't well enough. It didn't meet the expectations of major investors. That's a theme that you see a lot with companies' earnings reports. Like, a lot of times earnings reports will be good. A lot of times companies have made a profit, they've had a really great quarter, but because their results didn't meet up with what the analysts projected, then you will see a company's stock go down just because of that, which is crazy, I know, but that's how the market works. So right here on August 29th was when they had their earnings, and unfortunately, even though it was a good quarter, it did not meet the analysts' expectations, and after that, the stock fell about 20% to right here. For me, I knew that this was going to be a big event that would move the markets. That week, I really tried to stay out of the way. I did not place a lot of trades. I tried to find other options that weren't Nvidia and were not related to Nvidia, because all the news outlets were talking about them, and I kind of wanted to just sit on the sidelines and just see what would happen. That week, I only took a couple of trades. 2 of them aren't shown on here because paper trading was down for maintenance on Tuesday. On Monday, I was just watching and observing, and then I was looking at companies that were reporting earnings this week besides Nvidia, and there was a couple names that I saw. The first one was Chewy, the pet company. I looked back at their previous history. Those guys, they always do really well on earnings, and nowadays people spend a ridiculous amount on their pets, like healthier pet food and trips to the vet and all kinds of toys and things. Another thing that I noticed was that the consumer report wasn't very bad, but the company sold off quite a little bit. I thought it was a great opportunity to be able to get in. I made about $400 on that trade. Lululemon also had their earnings. I looked back at their history. Sometimes they did well, but the consumer report again wasn't bad, so I figured, okay, people don't think that we're going to have a recession, so maybe they'll be spending a little bit more in stores. But I was really way off on that one. I lost $200 on that trade. For me, the lesson that I took away from that one was don't go long on dying retail. Like, I'm sorry for those of you that really like shopping, but retail has not been doing well for many, many years, and I don't know why I thought it would do well. One of the other trades that I took in week 4 was on IBIT. I remember I talked to you guys about this Bitcoin ETF. It opened down just over 3.5%, and Bitcoin was also down at 59,000. I thought it could be a short-term trade. I was looking to catch the recovery. It was way oversold down here on my RSI indicator, and because of that, I thought I would be able to, catch the rebound when it bounced back up. Unfortunately, my timing was a little off. It would have been nice if I had caught this play instead, but I'm not perfect. sometimes you can't always get your timing right. Even though I was trying to avoid Nvidia, I did want to trade TQQQ. From what I had read, I thought that Nvidia would do well on their earnings, which they did, but at the same time they didn't. I believe that the price for Nvidia would have gone up, and based on that, because it's such a huge company, it would also have increased the price of the S&P 500. It was down about 1.5% that day, and about 5% previously. RSI again was showing oversold, but again, I was just a little bit off with my drawing. If I had drawn my trade a little bit lower, I would have been okay, but anyway, I ended up getting back in and I traded it again on the 29th, and I was able to get some of my gains back. I used my take profit rules and I got stopped out right about here. So I didn't really miss any profit, but I was able to avoid, this drawdown right here. Just a quick day trade, in and out, and I was able to get my money back. About $200 on this one, and then a loss of $250 on this one. For week 4, I was actually negative. I lost just over $100. It was a bit of a surprise just because that's actually my first week of losses since I started doing this, which is crazy to think about, honestly. I have zero background in trading. I have very little knowledge, but the fact that this was my first down week, that's pretty good. That I was able to get so far, and then this was my first loss. I didn't let it stop me, and going into week 5, I said, okay, I made a few mistakes, and I know what I want to do better. Week 5 was a lot more fun. The markets were closed on Monday because of the holiday. Tuesday, TNA had gone down about 10%, and then on Wednesday, it opened down 2%. So I saw that as a big opportunity. If you guys have been watching my other videos, you can see that a lot of my trades is just watching when things get oversold. Like if you see a stock go down 10% in one day, something like TNA, the small caps, if you see something like that go down 10% in one day and then it opens down 2% again the next day, you know that it's starting to get a little bit oversold. Like there was no specific reasoning behind it. We know that there's still going to be interest rate cuts that are coming in a couple of weeks. Small caps have nothing really to worry about. That's why I was confident in taking this trade, and I was able to pull out a profit of about $250 right there. Just a quick simple day trade just because I saw that something didn't make sense. Seeing that traders were being irrational and overselling something to a point where it was undervalued. As a good trader, you need to be able to see where those undervalued areas are so that you can capitalize. When people realize that the stock is undervalued, then it goes up, and that's where you're able to make money on a day trade. I learned my lesson about going too crazy on earnings. So in week 5, I only focused on one. This is a DocuSign. For any of you that have ever had any important documents that need to be signed electronically, DocuSign is one of the best softwares for doing that. I've never heard any complaints about the company. Based on the analyst expectations, they were expected to exceed in every category. I drew out my trade right here. The earnings were on Friday the 6th. So on the 4th, I got in right here and I held for 2 days, and then I got out right here. After the earnings report, the stock opened up about 8 or 9%. I gave myself plenty of room, as you can see, but 8 or 9%, I was able to close out of my trade following my take profit rules, and with that, I was able to make a profit of over $800. I also did another trade on IBIT. Again, I saw that it was oversold. It fell off a cliff after being down yesterday. But in the market, you'll notice that given enough time, everything usually rebounds. This trade wasn't based on any evidence or research. I was just following the trend of the market. I saw that the RSI was way oversold. It opened up so low. I was like, okay, this is not going to stay. And I held it for a couple hours, and then I was able to get out right here. That was a profit of actually $400, which was really, really nice. I was following a little bit too close, and I ended up missing this gain right here. But again, $400 doubled my money on that trade. No complaints for sure. AVGO was the last trade that I took in week 5. It was another earnings play, unfortunately. These guys have had a lot of success because they have data centers, which are again part of AI. This company is going to do very well in the future, but again, they were not able to meet expectations. I held this overnight. I wanted to share with you guys, this is one of the risks of holding a stock overnight. Even though my stop loss was right here at $148, when the market is closed overnight, there's nothing you can do to adjust that stop loss. When the market opened on Friday, the stock opened down here at 143, and then that's where I got stopped out instead of up here. That is a risk of holding things overnight. If it opens above or below your take profit or your stop losses, then that's where it ends, right when 9:30 hits. It's definitely a risk, and you have to be careful with those risks because again, if it had opened up way lower, I could have lost a lot more money. This one I lost $603 on, but because I did well on my other trades, I ended the week with a profit of $913. Remember in my last video, I told you that my account balance was a little off. So based on my own accounting, my current balance now after week 4 and week 5 is just over $14,000. That means that I am almost halfway to my goal of 10K in just a couple of weeks, which is really crazy. I've tried to share with you guys as much as I can about my journey and what I've done, but this is real, guys. I'm almost halfway to my goal after only a couple weeks, and I have a good feeling that unless something horrible and terrible happens, that I'm going to be able to hit my 10K goal before the end of the year. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Those are my trades for week 4 and 5. If you like this video, please feel free to comment down below and subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.